What's good, guys? Hope you are well, and this will form part one of next week's video. Some of it might, I'm just wondering when, actually some of it might well come from Center Parcs, actually, because when I release it, which I'm trying to release these every Wednesday, will mean I'll check in on Tuesday and we will have arrived at Center Parcs on the Monday afternoon. I think we can check in from about 4 o'clock or something. So next week's video will, part of it, the final part, will probably come from Center Parcs once we're there. I'm just stuck behind a bloody tractor. So I've just done my push session, which has been the second session of the new split. So I mentioned in last week's video that I do have a new split, and that new split is 5 days a week, which is push, pull, legs, delts and arms, back and hamstrings. So yeah, just wanting to give the back a little bit of additional work this time around. Delts and arms have come up quite nicely, haven't had those in as their own little session, so we're keeping that one in. And yeah, the back is getting an extra bit of work. So looking forward to seeing how this goes. Obviously this week's been a little bit of a trial week, knowing that we're then going away next week, and next week will be a deload for me, so I won't train. I'm trying to think when I will. I'll probably train on Sunday, and then we're going away Monday to Friday, so I probably then won't train again until the following Sunday, possibly even the following Tuesday, depending on how many days I decide to take off, whether it's going to be like 5 or 6, whether I extend that to a full week. We shall see how I feel. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and just seeing how that goes. And something else that I think is worth sort of talking about a little bit, because I do think it's something that people probably struggle a little bit with when it comes to like adapting plans and stuff, and obviously it's where like the expertise and the knowledge comes in. But this push session is slightly lower in volume than it was on the previous split, and there's a couple of reasons for that. So my previous split was 4 days a week, so if you think about, you know, logically, if you're trying to get a certain number of sets into a particular body part, so, you know, let's say over the course of a week you're aiming to get 12, just to pick a number out of the sky. We're trying to get 12 sets of an exercise, 12 sets of chest. Let's use chest as an example. Trying to get 12 sets of chest in across the week. If you're only training chest once a week, then you're going to have to get all 12 of those sets into that single session. And there's an argument to say that some of those sets may not be quite as effective, because if you think about, you know, if you were to get 3 or 4, say you were to do 3 chest movements, like an incline press, a flat press, and some sort of fly movement, and you're doing 4 sets of each of those. So 4 sets of incline press, 4 sets of flat press, 4 sets of a fly. If you can train really, really effectively, and you can put in a lot of intensity into your training, by the time you're getting to the fourth, maybe even the third set of some of those movements, how effective are those reps going to be? Just because you've used a lot of fatigue, you've used a lot of energy. So whereas if you were to split those across two different days, again, just as an example, you know, you split those 12 sets across 2 days, and you might do 6 sets on each day, you're probably going to get much more out of each of those sets the way you're only doing 6 versus where you're doing 4. So, but again, even saying that, it comes down to the experience someone's got. It comes down to the ability that someone's got to actually be able to like understand intensity and train with intensity as well as accuracy. And again, so, you know, somebody who's maybe a bit newer to the gym, who doesn't necessarily fully understand like how their body's moving, they don't necessarily understand like their own capacity when it comes to pushing things close to failure, etc. For them, training 10 to 12 sets in a single session might actually get as much out of that session as somebody more experienced who only needs to train 6 sets in a session, because in those 6 sets, someone more experienced who can really, really push with accuracy and intensity, you know, they only need the 6 sets to get a lot of work out in the individual session. So there is, you know, there's a huge amount of differences in that. And I think where you're then making those tweaks and changes, there's a huge amount of variance in that. It depends on the person, it depends on their experience, their ability, lots and lots to take into account. And you know, like I say, it's where having that bit of knowledge, that bit of expertise, but also knowing a person, that plays a big role too. And you know, why I ask a lot of my clients to send me videos of them training, particularly those sets that they're pushing to what they perceive as failure, because if I'm reviewing those movements and I'm looking at what they're doing, and like form might be really, really good, but where they're stopping, you know, I might see that they've got 3 or 4 reps left in the tank, and they're stopping. Like they might be stopping because, you know, the guide rep range in their plan says 8 to 10 reps, and they hit 10 reps and they just stop because they've hit 10 reps. Whereas what we really want to do is push to failure, or as close to it as possible. So as I say, if I'm reviewing their training, I'm looking at that thinking, you know, they're a good 10 reps, don't get me wrong, like form's good, control's good, technique's good, but actually, like, I can see that there's more there. You almost want to see a little bit of form breakdown towards the end to know that somebody's really pushing as hard as they possibly can. Like if every single rep is absolutely perfect, it's the same tempo, it's everything just looks, you know, completely the same from start to finish, there probably is a good argument to say they're not pushing that movement as hard as they can. So as I say, lots and lots of stuff to think about when it comes to updating programming. I will keep feeding back as I go through my sessions. I trained back and hams for the first time yesterday. That was a really, really nice session as well, but that's going to need a little bit of tweaking because my gym doesn't have access to a chest supported T-bar row. So back was first in that session, so 3 back movements, and one of those was a T-bar row. I'm having to do like 3 T-bar rows because, as I say, my gym doesn't have access to a chest supported one. So I'm doing like a 3 T-bar row where obviously there's a decent bit of sort of, you know, pressure, stress, load being taken through, you know, my lower back, my erectors, my hamstrings, my glutes. And then within that same session, we've also got an RDL. So the RDL coming after the T-bar row felt, you know, a little bit weak. So what I'm gonna probably do, because I really liked the free T-bar, you know, it felt like a really good movement. So what I'm probably gonna do is shift that free T-bar to my pull session, and then I'm gonna do something more chest supported in that back and ham session. So, you know, again, this is where the feedback's really, really important. Like, you know, when you're going through a session, what have you got access to in the gym? How do things feel? Like, you need to be thinking about that stuff, because if tweaks and changes need to get made, they can get made nice and early so that the program is completely suited and set up. So yeah, back and hams felt good other than that little tweak to make, so we know that's going to be there. Proper pull will be tomorrow, so that one will just be a little bit of trial to see how that one goes. I may not do the same like free T-bar in tomorrow's session just because I've already done it yesterday, so it might be one that I just tweak and change and stuff ready for when I get back from Center Parcs post deload. But yeah, it's always interesting, like I say, to just, you know, think a bit more about training, think a bit more about the exercise selection, the setup, what we're trying to get out of each of those sessions, because the more that you can think about that, consider that, feed that back, communicate it, you know, the changes can be made so that plans really do suit what we're trying to achieve and they suit the goal. So I'll leave this one here because I am not far from home, and I want to make sure I'm concentrating on the road fully. But yeah, I'll be back again with another part very soon. What is good, guys? It is Monday morning, bright and early on Monday morning, getting the check-ins done before we set off to Center Parcs around about lunchtime. And it had been quite drizzly, although I'm looking up now and the sky is starting to clear. Typical after, you know, we've had a good couple of weeks of it being really quite nice, to be honest. You know, blue skies, mild, warm. The weekend turned a bit rubbish, and then it started off really like grey and drizzly this morning. But as I say, the sun does look like it's coming out. So hopefully by the time we set off, the sun is going to be shining. So I have just taken my check-in pictures for Christian. I've taken them today for a couple of reasons. One, because it's going to make it more comparable, because I'm going to be able to do them in my office, in my usual location, rather than being at Center Parcs and not really being sure exactly where I'll be able to take them. and also just making sure that I've got one less thing to worry about when I'm there. So the comparability is probably the main thing. Getting those check-in pictures done. I'm about 0.8 of a pound up over the course of this week. So, you know, again, it's not too bad as things go. The weight started to go on a little bit faster over the past few weeks, but I've got this week as a deload. So I trained legs yesterday, last session before going away, and then I probably won't train again until next Sunday. So I'll have a good 6 days where I don't do anything from a training point of view. We're going to try and stay active. You know, at Center Parcs, there should be lots to do. We're hoping to get out for various day trips as well. But yeah, I just thought I'd give you a little bit of an update today, and then what I do plan on doing. So I'll check in as usual tomorrow with Christian. I'll get his reply, and then hopefully I'll send you. I'll post a little bit of an update, which will be coming to you from Center Parcs, somewhere in Center Parcs. Who knows? It might be from the little chalet bungalow. It might be like while I'm out on a little walk. But I'll get an update in, and that will form the last part of this week's video. But I hope everyone's good. Hope you've all had a really, really nice weekend. And yeah, I'll be back again with the next part soon. What is going on, people? So we are full day one at Center Parcs. As you can see, surrounded by lots of trees, which is a rather nice little something. Laura's just sped off. We've hired a bike with one of those little buggy things on the back. So Louis getting his first experience of being sort of in the back of a bike, because we have thought about getting bikes and getting one of those little things. So yeah, we wanted to have a little go, and he seems to be enjoying himself, but he's getting quite tired, so we're just going to go and put him down for a nap. Well, yeah, I'm probably going to crack on with a little bit of work, and then I think Laura's going to head off and just meet her mum for a drink. But on the whole, a fantastic little break. The accommodation's a little bit dated, I won't lie. I might pop up a little bit of a tour of the accommodation within the video. A little bit dated, but it's nice. You know, it's a little 3-bed sort of bungalow, I think they call them. You can probably see some of them in the background here. I'll see if I can show you in a minute. But yeah, check-in sent this morning, reply pretty much chill yourself out, switch off, relax, enjoy, and don't worry about anything, which is what I plan to do. Didn't even bring my scales, so partly because I forgot them. I won't lie, in part I just forgot to put them in. But actually, even, you know, I weigh myself every day, but it's just data to me. It's not, you know, I don't make decisions based solely off that. So switching off, relaxing, nearly back at the bungalow now. So I'll leave this one here. I might, as I said, pop up a little bit of a tour video, and then I'll catch up with you when we're back next week.